Hi, I'm Jonathan Burnett, and this is how we made Inside the Walls.
Scene 1D, take 1.
Honey, I think I found it.
Yes, you are, Stevie.
The first thing that we filmed is actually the first scene in the movie, the watcher moving the picture frame. And to do this was actually really easy because we had a locked off camera. So Alyssa is actually just standing there holding the picture frame, and she's wearing a pair of monster gloves. Now she curls her fingers around the picture frame, moves it and places it. Then she moves out of the frame, we get a clean plate of that environment, which we would use in post to rotoscope her out of it, so it looks like the hands are just emerging from the wall. So it was actually really easy. We left the camera as it was to move on to film the dialogue scene.
It's the same cycle. I go into work and then I come back.
We were going to be in this room for a while, so we took the extra time to really dial in the lighting of the space.
Oh, the moon's real bright tonight.
We had an aperture 120D mounted outside the window to cast a moonlight into the room. There's 2 practicals in the room. One we gelled to be a little bit warmer than it actually was, and the other we replaced the bulb with one of these Aperture MC RGB lights, so we could dial in the brightness and get the right color that we wanted. There's actually 4 more of these spread across the room to fill in the space and kind of give a greenish tinge to the room.
We don't start to actually communicate until I say it was work. There's not much to add.
Definitely an issue of communication here. It's almost like the conversation in the bedroom is the only thing that we filmed on night 1.
I didn't hear you come in.
Sorry, it was a long day.
We took our time and got a lot of takes, so that I had a lot to play with in the edit. So you really dial in the intensity and the tone of this conversation. And one thing that I think helped these performances is that we were pretty loose with the script.
I don't know what information you want from me.
I don't want information.
Danny and Stevie are not professional actors, so allowing them to say the lines in a way that felt real and authentic to them helped them give a more naturalistic performance and really dive into their characters' headspaces.
It doesn't change. It's the same cycle. I go in, I come back.
This is starting to feel like the same cycle.
And I think it worked really well. It made the edit a little bit more challenging because the continuity could change from shot to shot, but I'm really pleased with what they were able to do. And they let us shoot in their house, so great performances and great hospitality. I mean, a great team.
Honey, have you checked the mouse traps recently?
For the shots looking at them through the wall, we just used a piece of foam board. We mounted that on 2 C-stands, cut a hole in it, and then filmed the scene from behind that hole. And we used the same technique for the shot of the nail being pushed out. We just had a piece of foam board mounted and just pushed the nail through it. It's just like they're really struggling with it. Night 2 began by filming in the hallway. I just love this wallpaper. I think it's super, super creepy, and it's one of the main reasons we decided to film in Danny and Stevie's house. Now, along the floor, there's a little Easter egg. An effigy from our short film Effigy is there. Are these things connected? I don't know. I'll let you decide. Now, this house worked amazing for everything that we needed, but as always, we had to tweak the geography just a little bit. So this hallway actually ends in another room, and we didn't want it in another room, so we digitally removed that doorway in post. This room actually proved beneficial for us because the creature is actually able to be inside the room, lean its head out, look at her, and then lean back into the room, so it looks like it's coming out through the wall. So it worked to our advantage.
I really hate this.
Crouch a little bit.
The creature was played by Noah Greenleaf for the majority of the time. Danny actually played the creature in the pickups, which I'll get to in a minute. Now, Noah and Danny are actually in the same band called Fleet, which is an awesome band. You should totally check them out. They actually provided the song for the opening scene of Effigy. For the design of the creature, I actually made a mask using tape and one of these cheap Halloween masks. I basically sculpted with tape a face over this beautiful visage. The eyes were made by a foam golf ball that I cut in 2 and popped them into the sockets. And then I painted the whole thing to look like the creature that you see in the film. For the body, we used a white morph suit, and then we draped that whole costume in a white gauzy material to kind of diffuse the look.
How do you want it to come out?
Cool.
I'll try.
The ma'am?
The final touch were the little eye glints, which were unapologetically inspired by the vampires in Midnight Mass and in Dr. Sleep. And I did this in After Effects, just a simple orangish solid that I masked and tracked to the eyes. It was a very simple effect, but I think it adds a whole lot to their look.
I think we lost
After we finished filming the hallway stuff upstairs, we moved downstairs.
So he's gonna go around here, then.
And again, we had to tweak the geography just a little bit. This alcove isn't actually an alcove, it's actually a door that leads into their dining room, and we didn't want it to lead to a dining room. So we took that doorway out in post and added a wall. For the jump scare, we did a lot of takes to make sure that all the elements happened at the right moment and really popped. Noah is lying on the ground next to the wall, and he's just reaching out past the corner and grabbing Danny's arm. To make it look like that arm is going through the wall, I just extended that wall out in post, added a little bit of turbulent displacement when the arm bursts forth to make it look like the arm is morphing through it. And that turbulent displacement really makes that effect sing.
Like The Shining, like you're like handing with him as he's hitting.
For our little homage to The Shining, Danny is swinging his axe at that dining room door and never connecting. Well, almost never connecting.
One, action. Right, and 3.
That alcove served us well because we were able to hide the fact that he's not hitting anything. For the over-the-shoulder shot, that is just him swinging at that door again, but this time I'm just compositing the wall on top of that and then compositing a little hole on top of that. So after he's finished chopping, he looks into the hole. And to do this, we used the same technique that we used upstairs, which was a piece of foam board. We carved a hole into that. We rigged that on a C-stand, and then he's just looking into his dining room. And then the first person shot, we did that same piece of foam board. We just rigged it on a wall in my parents' house that was unfinished and moved the camera into that. It was simple.
Check, there's nothing there.
This middle
Back
section of
away.
the film is where we needed a few reshoots. So about 2 weeks after principal photography, we got back together to do these pickups. We redid this shot to change the tone a bit. But more importantly, we added this close-up of Danny to really dive into his character's headspace and increase the terror of that moment. We then used the close-up later to add more gravitas to his final conversation with Eve. And this close-up really tied together these pieces and elevated the scene as a whole.
Hey, I got the number for an exterminator. Babe,
I don't think that's gonna help.
are you okay? Babe? Hey, I got the number for an exterminator. Babe?
I don't think that's gonna help.
Are you okay? Babe? Babe?
We also reshot the scene with Stevie and the creature in the hallway. Now in the original version, the creature fully emerges from the wall and follows her, but it was just too much. You could just tell it was a person in a suit, and it wasn't as scary that way. So in the reshoot, we were much more restrained, had the creature just subtly in the background, and it became so much more creepy and so much more iconic. It did end up being the thumbnail after all. Now, none of these changes were major, but together they had a major impact on the film as a whole.
Alright, and action.
Now let's get back to night 2. The final things we filmed on night 2 were the final scenes in the film. For the face on the wall scare, it was actually a very, very simple effect. We filmed 2 plates, one of Stevie bending over, picking up the picture frame and lifting it, and then another plate of Noah as the creature just standing in the right spot. And then in post, I composited his face to appear as we tilt up. Now originally when Stevie hangs it up, we had the picture frame on a string, and then we wanted to drop it, we just let the string go. But I didn't really like the way that played. I preferred the way it played better in a longer take where the picture frame falls, we tilt down, and we tilt back up. So I ended up just animating the picture frame falling in After Effects, so it's completely computer generated.
One more coming out of the wall, and then
In the final moments of the film, we see that there's a lot more watchers than just one. And for this, I just grabbed everyone in the house. We have Noah, who's also a band member of Fleet, Steven, our behind-the-scenes photographer, Alyssa, our AD, threw them all in the background, and then in post, just composited them to look like they're part of the wall, gave them the eye glints. And there you have it. A bunch of watchers watching. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
11D, take 1.
The final shot we did of the night is the final shot in the film, Danny being taken by the watchers. And with that, we called it a wrap. on Inside the Walls.
But let's do one more without the fart.
Inside the Walls, like all my films, was a lot of fun to make, and it was made so much better by my absolutely wonderful collaborators. They kill it each and every time. And I felt like I learned a lot during the making of this film, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching it, and thanks for watching this behind the scenes of how we made it. Until next time.
Why is Baby Yoda in a glass case?
So it doesn't run away again.
It reminds me of like Beauty and the Beast with that rose, except